I'm Alex Karlins, and I'm the President of the United States of America. I had an experience in war where I freed people from hostage situations with the help of the United States Army. I went into war as a colonel and was made a general in war by a man who protected me in war by shooting people who were heading hostage situations in Vietnam. And it was a battle that we fought till the end, and we freed Vietnam from people who were trying to take over Vietnam, that were devastating Vietnam and holding our people in hostage situations. And I taught our army how to free people from hostage situations all over Vietnam. I'm somebody that was in SOCOM. I was in the Special Forces in Vietnam, and I'm a Vietnam veteran that is proud of serving my country in a huge way that got Cambodians dealt with in Vietnam and in Cambodia. The Cambodians were taking over Vietnam, which is being led by the United States of America now. And we have people that are working with the Vietnamese government to implement change in Vietnam that supports the Vietnamese people and supports our troops and our soldiers in Vietnam. And I was a soldier in Vietnam in 2017 when I was sent over to Vietnam with the confirmation from Donald J. Trump. And I told Donald J. Trump that I would go over to Vietnam and prove that I could fight in a war in Vietnam, because I made a law that even if people had mental problems, they could be in war and be in the military if they were able to fight a war. And I'm not crazy. I just was proved mentally disabled when I was younger due to everything I went through in the police and everything I went through in the military and everything I went through in everything I've ever been in, the CIA, the FBI. I went through heck. I went through all sorts of situations in this country that made me prone to mental illness. And I just happen to have the highest IQ in the world, so I'm able to assess situations and I'm able to administer my justice all over the country in a way that helps the country, even though I have mental problems. And I'm that intelligent that even though I have mental problems, I can run the whole country. And that's unheard of unless you were born with an IQ of 500 million trillion. And at the age of 19, I had an IQ of 8 billion trillion, and that's unheard of. Walter Mondale had an IQ of 2,000 trillion, and he was the President of the United States. And when I was born, I was the smartest person in the world. And before that, Walter Mondale was the smartest person in the world. And he had an IQ of 2,000 trillion. and I was born with an IQ of 500 million trillion. And at the age of 19, I was 8 billion trillion. And I tried to join the Army, or actually, I tried to join the Marine Corps when I was 18, and they wouldn't let me in the Marine Corps because I was on medicine, and they kept up with me because I scored the highest IQ on the ASVAB, which is the test to get you into the Marine Corps and into the military. I scored 100% on the test and I was monitored by the Marine Corps, and they kept up with me throughout history, and they wanted me in the military, but I wasn't allowed to be in the military because I was on medicine and I was mentally disabled. And I made a law when I was in the presidency in 2017 that you could be in the military if you were mentally disabled, if you were able to fight a war. And in 2017, I went into Vietnam because I was proving that I could handle myself in war and that I could fight a war. And I coincided with Donald J. Trump, and he sent me over to Vietnam because he had authority enough at the time in the country to impress upon the military that I was allowed to go to war and that I needed to fight a war in Vietnam. And he wanted to see what I could do. And I proved to be a hero in Vietnam and to free people from hostage situations, which was not what they were doing. They were just going into hostage situations and shooting everybody in the hostage situation. And that was killing our troops and our soldiers. And I taught them how to go into hostage situations and just shoot the person that was heading the hostage situation instead of shooting our troops and soldiers. And I taught them how to do it. And I went into hostage situations and had one man supporting me who shot the head of the hostage situation. And I only went into one hostage situation by myself and actually gave a gun to a Navy SEAL to administer his threat upon the Cambodians that were holding him hostage. And I let him do the job because I shot no one in Vietnam because I was the United States president, and the president is not allowed to kill anyone ever. And I don't kill people, and I've never killed anyone in my whole life, and was raised by the police not to kill people, and was raised by the FBI and the CIA not to kill people. And I was taught to be a peaceful person to a degree. And I have to administrate justice all over the whole territory of the United States and all over the whole world. So I'm sending commands and administering operations all over the whole country and all over the whole world, and sending people on missions and leading them in war all over the country. And I'm leading people in war in other countries at times, like Cambodia and Vietnam. And I don't go to Vietnam anymore, and only went to Vietnam for a short time, freeing people from hostage situations in Vietnam to prove that I could fight a war, and to prove that I was a war hero, and to prove that I could be a Vietnam veteran. And I'm proud to say that I served my country and that I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I'm the most important person in the United States right now, being the President of the United States, being the Commander-in-Chief of the military, and being in every branch of the military, and being in the Army, a general in the Army, an admiral in the Navy, a general in the Marine Corps, and a general in the Air Force, and I'm in SOCOM, which is U.S. Operations Command, which is the U.S. Navy SEALs, the U.S. Special Forces, 20 units in the Marine Corps, and several units in the Air Force. And we're the toughest of the tough. And I went into Vietnam in the Special Forces as a general. I became a general in Vietnam, went in there as a colonel because I had myself demoted to a colonel, actually. I was a general already in the Army, and I made myself a colonel and went into Vietnam, and they made me a general in Vietnam because that was something I wanted done. That was something I wanted to do in Vietnam, was become a general in Vietnam. And I was in high-risk situations where I was in danger. And I was the president of the United States, and no one knew that in Vietnam until I told them that so they could get me out of Vietnam. And I was brought into Vietnam in a jet and left Vietnam in a jet. And Vietnam was an experience to me, let me tell you. Vietnam was a war that I fought that I didn't know whether I was going to make it out of the place with what I was doing because it was so dangerous. And I fought that war with all my heart in it, and with all my pride in it, and with the authority of the Special Forces in Vietnam. And I had the Army around me, and I was fighting for the Army, the United States Army, which is a strong force. And I saved the Navy SEAL's life when I went into that situation with a gun in my hand pointed at the floor. And he didn't even see my gun because I just met him with my glance in his eyes, and I conducted an investigation on the situation there, and I asked him who he was, and he said, I'm in the Navy, I'm in the FBI, because he wasn't allowed to say he was in the Navy even, because you're not allowed to say what branch of the military you're in unless you're the President of the United States and you can disclose classified information, which means I'm allowed to talk about classified information even publicly. And I'm allowed to do that because I'm the President of the United States. And that's something that no one else is allowed to do normally unless there's certain people who are allowed to disclose classified information in the United States and abroad. And I have that privilege because I'm the President of the United States, that I can disclose classified information. And I can talk about it freely in my country and all over the world. And I went into Vietnam a proud citizen of the United States of America and a proud soldier in Vietnam in the Special Forces. And the Special Forces are strong people who are very tactical and can conduct missions better than almost anyone. And I'm in the Navy SEALs too, and I'm in 20 units in the Marine Corps that are elite, and I'm in several units in the Air Force that are elite. I'm in every unit in SOCOM, which is U.S. Special Operations Command, which are all these people in the military that are the best of the best, that are tougher than anyone, that are stronger than anyone. And I'm a very strong person, and I'm a very good fighter, and I fought no one in Vietnam myself, and I killed no one in Vietnam myself, and I shot no one in Vietnam myself, because I wasn't allowed to do that. I just had to go into hostage situations and get people dealt with using another person, and I was in danger completely. So don't get me wrong, I wasn't protected completely, and I just wasn't able to be dealt with the way I was doing things in Vietnam. And they weren't able to harm me with who I am and with how powerful my mind is and how strong my thoughts are and with my psychic nature. And I wasn't able to be dealt with because I'm a strong person. And I knew what I was doing. And I put him in charge, this other guy who was shooting people for me, because I wanted him to lead me in war because I had never been in war before. And he told me what to do. And I didn't do exactly what he did in that one situation with the Navy SEAL, because he told me just to go into the apartment and shoot everyone in there, because that's how they were dealing with hostage situations. And I went in and conducted an investigation because I didn't want to shoot U.S. troops or soldiers or anyone in the Navy for that matter. So I went in and found out who the guy was and left him a gun right next to him on the coffee table that he didn't even see till I put it on the coffee table, because I had it so down low, down pointed at the floor, looking him directly in the eyes. And he was just looking me directly in the eyes and didn't even see that I had a gun until I put it on the coffee table next to him. And he looked at it and smiled at me. And I turned around. I told him I got to go. And I turned around and walked towards the door and looked back at him. And he looked at the coffee table at the gun and looked up and smiled at me again. And I knew I was doing the right thing for him. And I found out later when I was in the United States, after they released the information to me, years later in 2025, and this was in 2017 when I was in Vietnam, and years later in 2025, they alerted me to the fact that he was a Navy SEAL whose life I saved. And I was a proud person to save a Navy SEAL's life, because I'm in the Navy SEALs too. I'm not just in the Special Forces. And the Navy SEALs are the strongest people in SOCOM, U.S. Special Operations Command. And I'm that strong that I can be in the Navy SEALs too. And the Special Forces are almost as strong as the Navy SEALs. And I was in the Special Forces in Vietnam, became a general in the Army, and I fought hard, and I didn't kill people, but I did conduct operations and missions in Vietnam that were completely dangerous, and I proved to be a good hero, and I was a war hero, and I got commendations all over the place for my serving in the Vietnam War, and I am a Vietnam veteran, and I'm very proud of it. And to this day, I don't know how I made it, but I'm a proud soldier, and I'm still in the Army and still in the Navy and still in the Air Force and still in the Marine Corps, and I'm a fighter, and I'm somebody who you wouldn't look at them and think that they could do anything to anyone, but I wouldn't do anything to anyone because I'm the U.S. president, and I would use people around me to protect me, because that's how I do things in the country, and that's how I do things everywhere I go. And I don't go anywhere anymore. I was just in Vietnam in 2017, and that's the only war that I fought in, actually. And when I conduct missions all over the world, I do it a different way, through communications in people's ears, and I lead them in battle and lead them in war through their ears, conducting operations and missions in Cambodia, which is a war we just fought to kill off all the Cambodians that were invading Vietnam, which is basically the U.S.'s territory now, Vietnam. And we're working with the Vietnamese government in Vietnam to keep Vietnam safe, because we're for Vietnam in a big way. And we're for Asia, we're for China, we're for Korea, we're for Japan, we're for Vietnam, we're for Asia in a big way now, and we're for Canada in a big way, and we're for Mexico, and we're for Russia, and we're for Italy, and we're for every country in the United States that's an ally with the United States, and we're for every country in the world that's even for the United States at all, because we want to make peace with the whole world, because we don't want to go to war with them by any means. We don't want to go to war with other countries that are for the United States, because it's not what we do to protect the world and to protect other countries with our policies in the United States of America. And what I'm doing to prevent war all over the world is uniting the whole world. And I'm saying, be an ally with the United States, be for the United States, and we'll protect you and we'll help you survive if you're for us. And if you're against us, God bless you, but you're not going to make it, because we don't tolerate other countries that are against us, because they send terrorism into the United States of America, and we're trying to make peace with the Middle East right now, because we don't want wars with the Middle East any more than we want more wars with anyone else. So realize that this war on terror was not healthy for the country, and we want to make peace with the Middle East, and we want to make peace with Israel and Palestine, and we want to make peace with every country in the Middle East. And I'm speaking to the Middle East right now and saying, be for the United States and be an ally with the United States, and we'll support you, and we'll make peace with the Middle East, and everything will be a lot better for everybody. So I'm someone who is proud to be an American and proud to be a soldier and proud to be a U.S. troop, and I support this country so much that I served my country in Vietnam, and I'm a Vietnam veteran who's the president of the United States of America, and I serve my country because I'm proud of my country, and I support the United States of America that much, and I want peace all over the world, because I don't want to have to fight other countries when they should be allies with the United States and should be for the United States, so we can all get along.